Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to my booth. I'm Jay, if we haven't met yet, talking to your clients, communicating with your clients. It's an important part of any business. Voiceover is no exception. So today, I am going to talk to you about how I talk to my clients. Some stuff I've picked up along the way that I've found really helpful in building fruitful and long-lasting relationships with cool people. Before we dive in, though, hey, if you like this stuff and you find it helpful, there's some buttons, you know the ones I'm talking about. Give them a click, takes a couple seconds, helps us out a lot here. And if you want to support these efforts, this channel directly, there are ways you can do that in the description. Give it a gander if you're feeling generous. Talking to your clients. So, a huge revelation for me in my career as a voiceover artist and making this my career was when I stopped thinking of myself as Jay Myers, voiceover artist. Jay Myers, audiobook narrator. Jay Myers, actor. And I started thinking of myself as Jay, small business owner. Because at the end of the day, that's really what I am. I am a small business owner. This is a small business, and I am a small business. And that was helpful for me in a few respects. Firstly, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's important to mention while we're talking about it. Being an actor is tough. Man, being a voiceover actor is tough, and that's not a sob story. It's just when your business is you are the product, the art, your craft. It's literally you, your voice, your face, your body, your instincts, your intuition. That's the thing that you're trying to sell to folks in this industry. It can be tough not to get down on yourself at times and feel dejected, feel rejected, etc. The list goes on. And so by treating myself and this whole endeavor as a small business rather than me being an actor, it helped me to make things a lot less personal, to distance myself from them when I didn't need to be in the weeds with it. So I can take my actor hat off, hang it up when I'm not needing it. And by the same token, I can swing my attention over, put on another cap that's vital to being a small business owner. And a lot of those were things that I didn't have any idea about before I started this whole endeavor full steam. And a lot of them are things that I started off uncomfortable with and grew to even like over time. So for instance, the bookkeeper hat, the tax accountant hat. Those are things that I had no idea what the heck it was. I didn't know how to operate those things, but I became better at it. The marketer cap, for goodness sake. I hate talking about myself. I hate having to feel like I need to put my wares on I don't like doing that. But I got better at it over time. I understand it's an important part of being a small business owner, and I got used to it, and now I don't mind it so much. So those are things that are helpful, and the one we're talking about today is the customer service cap. And almost all of my customer service mojo comes directly from my time in the restaurant industry. Who would have thought it? If you're like the vast majority or a significant number of performers out there, chances are you've got like an honorary doctorate in restaurateurship, catering, or something like that. I am no exception, and I loved my time in restaurants, and a really, really important aspect of being a good server, a good host, and a good restaurateur is a concept called touch points. It's something I found really helpful in voiceover as well. Touch points in restaurants are from the moment a guest walks into your restaurant up until the moment they leave your doors at the end of their evening. Each opportunity you have to interact with them is a touch point. It's an opportunity for you to make sure that they're having a positive experience, to understand their needs as they arise and as you can anticipate them. Think, would you like more water, sir and or madam or person? And you also get to execute and fulfill those needs to the best of your ability in a discreet manner. And at the end of the day, hopefully it all accumulates and compounds into them having a really wonderful and memorable experience, a wonderful evening, a wonderful meal, and then they want to come back. They might leave you a larger tip than they would have thought otherwise, and they might even recommend you to other friends, family, coworkers, etc. Same deal with voiceover. If you spend the time and energy on each of those touch points whenever you're interacting with your clients, hello, how are you this evening? can I take your order, etc. It's a one-to-one transposition, and each of those moments are an opportunity for you to help the client have a positive experience. And so thinking about it that way was really, really helpful for me. And then additionally, in restaurants, I think we all know what it feels like to have a really wonderful, or I would hope most of us know what it's like to have a really good meal. If not in a restaurant, maybe you had a really great family dinner one time or something like that. And that experience, then you can kind of reverse engineer it. Like, what made this really pleasant for me? In restaurants, I know what it feels like to have a good meal. So in Voiceover, what I did was, if I'm somebody hiring Jay to do a voiceover, at what points would I like something to be easy for me, to be frictionless, to move smoothly, to where I don't even have to think about it? Engineering that sort of start-to-finish client experience and making it as easy as possible from the client's perspective has been really beneficial for me. So things like making sure that the contract is pre-drafted, easy for them to sign. I love using Adobe Acrobat's document signing software. You can literally just send them an email with the contract. They have to click a couple places and it's a legal document. Sending them the files, making sure you know exactly what they're looking for. What kind of tone would you like this performed in? Would you like some options for that? Would you like me to process the audio? Things that you know you need to have in the back of your mind to execute the job well. And then like invoicing, can I make this easy for them? How can I make it easy to accept payments from the client, etc. Each one of those is a little tiny moment that adds up to a positive experience that then makes people want to come back and work with you again, at least in my experience. So those are two big things that you can do that are sort of general overviews. Touch points, treat every interaction as an opportunity to build a relationship and generate a positive experience. And think ahead. If there's a point in your workflow that you can make things easier for everybody, try to do it, and it'll lead to really good returns. Now I'll talk about some specific things that are sort of hodgepodge together that you can think about when you're communicating with your clients to be more professional. And we'll just start there. Be professional. In your email correspondence or in phone calls and video calls, you just want to make sure that you're comporting yourself in a positive, friendly, and professional manner. So things that I think about in emails is making sure everything's spelled correctly. Make sure that it's not a super long email that has a ton of information that they don't need to know. They don't need to know if you have a runny nose. They don't need to know if your cat was meowing in the background, etc. You can just deliver the information that's necessary. Additionally, in emails, these are a couple things that I do that I find really, really humanizing and personal. I always, at the beginning of an email, say the person's name. Hi, Jim. Hi, Claire. And that little bit goes a really long way. Additionally, if it's the first exchange we've had ever or in a while, hey, Jim. Hey, Claire. Really nice to meet you. Thank you so much for reaching out. I hope you had a great weekend. Or if you've been in a conversation for a while, just like, I hope you had a great weekend. Or, hey, I hope you had some great time with the family over the weekend. Something like that. It goes a really long way in humanizing communication over the internet. Things like Slack, Microsoft Teams, email, all of them, in my experience, it can feel really impersonal and dehumanizing, particularly if people are asking you for tasks or things. Can you deliver this invoice? Period. I don't feel like a person anymore. But, hi, Jay. I hope you had a nice weekend. Just wondering or checking in on this invoice. Thank you. I already feel like a person at that point. So that's a nice thing to focus on. At the end of your email, I always make sure to leave the door open for questions if I feel it's necessary. Thank you so much. If you have any questions or if I can clarify anything further, let me know. Warmly, Jay. And that just leaves the door open for them if they need something else answered, and I think it's a nice touch. Beyond that, you want to make sure that you're clear and transparent. Before you launch into any sort of project, any sort of job, you want to make sure that the client's expectations are crystal clear up front. If there's anything that you're confused about within reason that you can't figure out on your own, ask. Nobody's going to blame you for it. Nobody's going to think you're dumb or asking too much. You're trying to do the best job you can, and that's just information that'll help you. That's usually a good rule of thumb. If it'll help you do the job better, ask it. Then, in terms of being transparent, it's really, really helpful and important, I think, to make sure that your standards and your terms are clear up front. This is particularly the case when it comes to the contract, your payment, and any sort of revisions that the client may ask for. Contingencies for revisions is huge, and make sure that they're clear up front. I'll say that again. Revisions are a place where you can get bit in the butt if you're not clear about it up front. So it's nothing that you need to be aggressive about or terrified by. Just be sure that they know. I'm happy to do revisions for you. Just know that beyond one round of revisions, and if they go beyond 10% of the script length, I'll have to charge additionally for those revisions, if that's the kind of job it goes for. The GVAA Rate Guide, Global Voice Acting Academy, I think is what it is, Rate Guide. It's a great place to go to look up specific rates. I would check that out if you're curious. Next, with contracts, make sure that your contract is signed before you start any sort of work. It's not something to balk at. It's not something to feel like you're imposing upon. Quite the contrary. You're making them feel professional. You're making them feel like they're working with you, a professional. And you're protecting both yourself and their interests simultaneously. This is an agreement between the two of you, and you just want to make sure that your bases are covered. It's nothing that you're imposing upon people. That's what I felt a lot when I was starting out. Don't go there. You're helping everybody involved. And then lastly, just be a good person. The golden rule goes a really long way. As long as you kind of know what you're doing, if you treat people the way you want to be treated, you can really never go wrong. The only places where I've run into trouble is where I've felt like I was being exploited to do extra work, and then I can just reference the GVAA rate guide and or previous contracts that I've done, say, hey, this is the typical workflow, this is the typical rate for that type of work, and I'd be happy to do it for you if that's the case. And those are just some things to think about when you're talking to clients. Now, the final realm that I'll talk about very briefly is if things hit the fan, if things start bending sideways, if you're dealing with somebody who's upset or they seem upset or annoyed with you. Firstly, it's really, really challenging to discern proper tone from an email. So it's generally best to assume the best. Give everyone the benefit of the doubt to a fault. You never want to be the one who starts off as aggressive. If you're on the internet, you know that people can just be testy and mean sometimes without necessarily meaning to. And so if your feelings feel hurt, take a few deep breaths, take a step away, come back to it a little bit later, and plunk it out and go with the kindness method first. And that usually ends up best for everybody. I hope this was helpful for you. And if you have any other questions about this or anything else voiceover related, hit me up here. Hit me up on my website. There's coaching on my website if that's your speed. And I'm going to be dropping some courses soon. So keep an eye out for that if that's of interest. Until the next one of these, be well, everybody, and I'll see you there. Toodles.